Shalom, and welcome to a message for the Parsha for Parshat Vayakhel. In fact, this week is also known as Parshat Shkalim. Now, what does this mean? Is it Parshat Vayakhel or is it Parshat Shkalim? Well, in the normal schedule of the Parshiot, it's Parshat Vayakhel. However, there is an additional reading this week, and that is called Parshat Shkalim. We read a small section from the Torah. In fact, it's from last week's Parsha, the beginning of last week's Parsha, which speaks about the mitzvah of giving the half shekel. Now, in the cases this week, where we read these two portions, we take out two Torahs. So it becomes a very special Shabbat. It's already a significant Shabbat. Now, what is this reading about? Well, every year, during the time of the Bet HaMikdash, of the Holy Temple, every single Jew had to contribute equally, the emphasis is equally, to the service, to the ongoing service and maintenance of the Holy Temple. That is, every single Jew was a partner in all the offerings and all the sacrifices that were offered on a daily basis, and the incense, and the special offerings on the festivals, and of course the special ones on Yom Kippur. In order for every Jew to have an equal partnership, in order for every Jew to have the same exact involvement, Hashem mandates that we give each a half a shekel. And as the verse says, the rich shouldn't give more, the poor shouldn't give less. Every single Jew has an equal part. This was done on a yearly basis. In other words, you had to give your annual contribution. And the fiscal year for this annual contribution and the usage of it began on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, on the first day of Nisan. Thus, for 30 days, beginning with Rosh Chodesh Adar, the first of Adar, which is the last month of this fiscal year, they would begin to make the announcements and to remind the people that soon the time is coming by when you have to have had paid up your half shekel in order to be part of it, because they would begin to use the new monies already on Rosh Chodesh Nisan to commemorate this, to remember this, and also to be part of it, in the sense that even though we cannot actively do this mitzvah in the literal sense, however, in the spiritual sense, we certainly not only could, but we should, we must do this mitzvah. It's our privilege to be able to perform it. Therefore, on the Shabbat closest to Rosh Chodesh Adar, meaning the Shabbat, in this case preceding Rosh Chodesh Adar, we read this special extra reading in which we remind ourselves, we're reminded of this special mitzvah of the half shekel. So what is it that we can do in terms of this mitzvah today? We don't have the Bet HaMikdash. Well, God willing, who knows, by Rosh Chodesh Nisan we should have the Bet HaMikdash, and then we'll all have to give our half shekel. But in what spiritual way, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, can we perform this mitzvah right here, right now, when we hear the reading this Shabbat, when we reflect on this reading? And the answer is, when you think about it, really a great question arises. We know that every mitzvah in the Torah has a certain shi'ur. A shi'ur means it has a certain size. It has a criteria. It has to be this big, at least this big, or sometimes not bigger than this, not smaller than this. It has to be done within a certain amount of time. It has to be done on this day, not on that day. Everything has a full, actual, complete measurement. You know, where it begins and where it ends, where the mitzvah starts, where the mitzvah finishes off. But here is a very unique mitzvah. The Torah strictly mandates that it has to be only a half. In other words, the sum total of the mitzvah is only a half. And the question is, doesn't every mitzvah require inherently that there be a completeness, a wholeness to it? Where is the wholeness here? How can a half be a whole? The answer is, what is really the symbol of this mitzvah? What is this mitzvah saying? Is it because the Bet HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, needed the money, needed the finances in order to, maintain, in order to be able to pay for all the offerings and so on I'm sure if they put out the call, there would be several very, very rich Jews who would be more than happy to put down all the funds and to take care of business. Why was it necessary to do this elaborate collection? The answer is because what Hashem is telling us, that when it comes to the real important stuff, when it comes to that special connection to Hashem, every single Jew is equal. Every single Jew has a part. In fact, there is no Jew that is more whole, that's more complete than the other. And this is symbolized in this mitzvah of the half shekel. You see, because if somebody could just come and bankroll the whole thing and finance the whole expenditure of the Bet HaMikdash, what that would be saying essentially is, look, if you have the means, whether material or spiritual, well, now you're a big player. But if you don't, then you're insignificant. You don't really count. Well, you don't count at all. And the Torah is telling us, no, every single Jew counts. Every single Jew counts. In fact, no matter how rich or poor you are, and rich or poor doesn't only mean financially in a material sense, but also in a spiritual sense, no matter how advanced you are in your Torah knowledge, in your mitzvah observance, doesn't matter. You're only half. The maximum you can be is half. How do you fill yourself? How do you become whole? How do you become complete? Only with the other half. What's the other half? That's the other Jew. Whoever that Jew may be. Lower than you, higher than you, bigger than you, richer than you, poorer than you. That doesn't matter. You, no matter how special you are, no matter how complete you can become, we're only half. And this is the way we can celebrate, we can commemorate this special mitzvah. To remember that we need another Jew, whoever that Jew may be, whoever he or she is, we need them to be complete in order for us to be whole in the eyes of Hashem. Shabbat Shalom.